To truly understand Superman, we must explore the intricacies behind his vulnerabilities. Superman's weaknesses are not mere plot devices. They go beyond the surface-level invincibility typically associated with his character. At its core, Superman has three principal weaknesses: kryptonite, magic, and psychological vulnerability to the safety of loved ones and the ideals he upholds. These elements, often overshadowed by his superhuman powers, add complexity to his persona and make him a relatable character despite his alien origin. Understanding Superman's vulnerabilities is crucial to appreciating the balance and tension within his narratives. These weaknesses underscore the inherent tension between invincibility and risk, fundamentally essential for storytelling in superhero lore. Specifically, kryptonite exemplifies physical vulnerability, stripping Superman of his powers and rendering him as fragile as any human. Magic introduces another layer of unpredictability, bypassing his usual defenses. Lastly, his emotional ties and moral compass create scenarios where he must prioritize between his own survival and the safety of others. The significance of these weaknesses is illustrated in various storylines. In Superman Kryptonite by Darwin Cook, we witness a raw depiction of Superman struggling with this crippling substance. This narrative not only highlights his vulnerability, but also portrays his resilience. Another notable example is the animated film Superman vs. the Elite, which delves deep into the psychological battles Superman faces, particularly when confronting foes with contrasting ideologies. These stories remind us that vulnerabilities don't just weaken, they also define the hero's true strength. Opinions about Superman's weaknesses are diverse. Some argue that they make him more relatable and human, while others think they are used inconsistently, sometimes detracting from his invulnerable allure. Debates often focus on how frequently and effectively these weaknesses are integrated into the storyline. However, challenges arise when attempting to balance these weaknesses within the overarching narrative. Critics point out that over-reliance on kryptonite can become predictable, potentially diminishing its dramatic impact. Additionally, Superman's moral dilemmas, although thought-provoking, sometimes skirt complex resolutions, occasionally sparking controversy over whether they dilute his quintessential heroism. In relation to the broader topic, Superman's vulnerabilities influence numerous elements of his story. They impact his interactions with allies and foes, dictate the dynamics of his relationships, and ultimately shape the overarching themes of justice and sacrifice in his narrative arcs. Superman's weaknesses serve as a linchpin, connecting various threads of his character development and reinforcing the dichotomy of power and vulnerability within the superhero genre. Kryptonite, the infamous substance from the planet Krypton, is widely recognized as Superman's greatest vulnerability. Defined as a mineral that emits a unique form of radiation capable of incapacitating the otherwise invincible superhero, kryptonite is the Achilles heel of Superman, stripping him of his extraordinary powers and rendering him as vulnerable as any human. This concept is central to the narrative of Superman as it introduces a tension between his near-godlike capabilities and his inherent unexpected fragility. The origins of kryptonite's importance to Superman's story cannot be overstated. In a universe where Superman is unmatched in strength, speed, and invulnerability, kryptonite introduces a necessary balance, providing a tangible threat that adds depth and complexity to his character. Without it, Superman might seem omnipotent and therefore less relatable. Kryptonite serves as a narrative tool that embodies the classic motif that every hero has a weakness, which prevents Superman's storylines from becoming stale or predictable. For example, in the storyline Superman, the movie, Lex Luthor uses kryptonite to trap and nearly defeat Superman, offering a dramatic example of the hero's struggle against his greatest weakness. In another instance, the comic arc All-Star Superman depicts how even a small amount of kryptonite can incapacitate Superman, highlighting not only his vulnerability, but also the ingenuity and perseverance required to overcome it. Opinions regarding kryptonite often acknowledge it as an essential plot device that ensures Superman remains an engaging and relatable hero. Writers and fans alike appreciate this vulnerability as it humanizes Superman, illustrating that even the strongest beings have their flaws. thus bridging the gap between the audience and the superhero. However, some critics argue that overuse of kryptonite in stories can become repetitive, undermining the creativity of narratives that could explore other vulnerabilities in Superman's character, whether emotional or psychological. Others suggest that constant reliance on kryptonite might limit the potential for more diverse storytelling and conflict resolution. In sum, kryptonite is more than just a tool to level the playing field. It's a critical aspect of Superman's mythology. It connects deeply with other facets of his narrative, influencing how he interacts with allies and adversaries alike, and shaping the very essence of his story as one of triumph over adversity. This weakness not only ensures the hero's continuous evolution, but also reinforces the idea that true strength is defined not by the absence of vulnerabilities, but by the ability to overcome them. In the world of Superman, one of his most significant vulnerabilities is the impact of red sun radiation. Unlike the yellow sun of Earth, which grants Superman his legendary powers, a red sun, similar to the one that shines on his home planet Krypton, renders those powers null and void. This phenomenon occurs because Superman's cells absorb solar energy, and while yellow sun radiation supercharges them, red sun radiation fails to energize them in the same way, leaving him as vulnerable as any human. Understanding this is crucial in exploring Superman's weaknesses because it highlights the fragility underlying his seemingly indestructible exterior. The importance of red sun radiation is paramount in dissecting Superman's weaknesses as it ties directly to his extraterrestrial origins and his dependency on Earth's yellow sun. This point emphasizes that even a hero with near-godlike abilities has inherent limitations dictated by his environment. Two compelling examples showcase this vulnerability. In the comic Action Comics number 300, Superman finds himself powerless under a simulated red sun, orchestrated by Brainiac. Similarly, in Superman, Red Sun, an alternate narrative explores a world where Superman lands in the Soviet Union under a red sun's influence, altering the power dynamics dramatically. These instances underline the dramatic shifts in his capabilities as dictated by red sun radiation, leading to compelling plot developments and character challenges. Opinions supporting the significance of red sun radiation often emphasize its role in preserving tension and relatability in Superman's stories. Without weaknesses like this, Superman would be an infallible character, potentially losing narrative depth. However, there are challenges and controversies surrounding this concept. Critics argue that introducing such vulnerabilities might undermine Superman's iconic status as the ultimate protector, making him less compelling as an unstoppable force. Red sun radiation's influence extends into broader discussions of Superman's other weaknesses, such as his susceptibility to kryptonite. Both elements serve the narrative purpose of humanizing the character and allowing exploration of themes like helplessness and determination. Moreover, this vulnerability prompts Superman to rely on his intellect, strategy, and the support of allies, showing that true strength lies beyond physical power. Through these elements, the impact of red sun radiation on Superman not only reveals a critical aspect of his character, but also connects deeply with the essence of storytelling, where heroes must confront and overcome obstacles that remind us of their humanity. Psychological factors and emotional vulnerabilities in the context of Superman highlight the idea that even the strongest beings have internal battles that can affect their behavior and decision-making. These aspects refer to the mental and emotional challenges that Superman faces, which can serve as significant weaknesses despite his physical strength. An understanding of this dimension is crucial as it humanizes Superman, showing that his invulnerability does not extend to psychological realms, thereby making his character more relatable and multidimensional. The significance of exploring Superman's psychological and emotional vulnerabilities lies in adding depth to his superhero persona. Rather than merely focusing on his external battles, acknowledging his internal struggles enriches the narrative by portraying a hero who grapples with moral dilemmas, loneliness, and the burden of expectations. This perspective underscores that Superman's greatest battles may not always be with formidable villains, but within himself, conflicts of identity, duty, and desire. Two notable examples illustrate this point. First, Superman's struggle with balancing his dual identity as Clark Kent and Superman reflects a profound psychological conflict. This duality poses questions of alienation as he tries to fit into human society while maintaining his Kryptonian heritage. Second, his relationship with Lois Lane often exposes emotional vulnerabilities, such as fear of loss and failure to protect loved ones, highlighting his deeply rooted human emotions. Support for the importance of these vulnerabilities comes from the view that they make superheroes like Superman more accessible and realistic. Authors and commentators argue that these psychological layers engage audiences by showing that even near godlike figures experience moments of doubt and emotional turmoil, which are universal human experiences. However, potential challenges arise from different interpretations of Superman's psychological dimensions. Some critics argue that emphasizing his emotional vulnerabilities may weaken his iconic status as an indestructible hero. Others believe it's essential to maintain his superhuman aura to inspire audiences facing real-world adversities. Moreover, diverse depictions in comics and films offer alternative viewpoints on how these vulnerabilities should be portrayed, often leading to debates among fans and creators. This exploration of psychological factors and emotional vulnerabilities directly influences other aspects of Superman's story, such as his interactions with allies and adversaries. It shapes plot lines that focus on his moral choices and the impact of his actions on both a personal and global scale, creating a nuanced portrayal of heroism in a world where mental resilience is as crucial as physical might. By addressing these internal struggles, the narrative becomes a reflective examination of strength, vulnerability, and the complex nature of being an icon.